We call ourselves business psychologists or occupational psychologists. We're also known as organisational psychologists as well. Essentially, we apply psychology within the workplace. And there's a huge range of activities, obviously, in workplace, right from bringing new recruits into an organisation through to developing those individuals, through to supporting top team development. So working with MDs, CEOs and their teams to make sure that they are as dynamic, as productive, as effective as they possibly can be. So there's a huge range of areas. We touch on other areas occasionally in terms of ergonomics and human factors, but essentially at the heart of our work is understanding individuals and the way that they interact with each other. There are a number of different paths to becoming an occupational psychologist. There are PhD students working in occupational psychology who have a particular specialism. There are undergraduates who have gone straight into industry and developed their skills, their experience actually within a large organisation. The most common route is to take a master's course. There are plenty of courses around. It's typically a 1 year, 6 months of which is taught and 6 months of which is practice in an organisation. And what that means is that you accelerate your development towards chartered status. And that's BPS recognised status. The reason it's important actually is employability. It says that you are competent across a number of core areas of occupational psychology, as opposed to you have a specialism or you have superficial experience. I underestimated, I think, when I first qualified, how important it was. It literally will double your salary in terms of becoming, the moment you become chartered. And I think that's out of respect for what chartership says. But it's a tough route. I would recommend anybody going into a master's course that will accelerate movement towards chartership. And then you need to find a supervisor who will support your development, your application for chartership, and oversee the work that you do, typically over a 3 to 5 year period. The process of chartership is essentially keeping a diary, a logbook that is essentially built up into a thesis of my work over the last 3 to 5 years. It's all supervised, it's signed off in segments, but it demonstrates competency against a number of different areas. I'm a partner at a firm of business psychologists. We work in 3 core areas with client organisations. The 3 areas are assessment, so assessing individual capability, development, developing that capability, and diversity, understanding unconscious biases and the way that we interact in organisations. It's a cliche, but there is no typical day, and that's part of the enjoyment. But if I were to look across a week in my diary, I would typically be working directly with clients at their organisation. I'd be running a development centre, for example. That's where you spend 2 to 3 days with individuals who have been identified as high potential, and you're providing support on their development, so a lot of coaching work and so on. We run one-day events, one-day assessment centres to identify people for particular jobs. We run workshops, understanding bias and developing leadership skills. And there's a lot of design work. So actually back at the office, a lot of people at desks working on questionnaire design or organisational solutions, designing those on the desk before we go out and run them. We use a whole range of psychology, from decision-making heuristics to hierarchical task analysis in order to understand roles. We use questionnaire design. We use personality theory, understanding of intelligence. There's a wide range, and that depends very much on the nature of the role. Are you working with an individual to understand that individual, in which case you're focusing around personality and ability, or are you looking at the organisation itself, a much broader view, in which case it's typically questionnaire design, analysis, large group interventions. Typically, individuals who are quite analytical, very flexible in their thinking capabilities, so moving from one project to another. I think skills of, one of the biggest skills is being able to move into an organisation that you have never worked in before and very quickly pick up what is going on, how that culture works. So curiosity, asking the right questions, gathering the right data at speed. There's a lot of travelling. I travel a lot internationally, and getting in from South America one day and then you're working on a project in Singapore the next week. You have to be able intellectually to move very quickly from one project to another. Every client clearly believes that you are delivering for them and them only. Therefore, if they ask for something the next day, invariably you need to have it. The most rewarding elements of the job by far are the variety, the level of interest, the level of challenge. There are also times where you have built up to delivering a big project, a large-scale project that's worth a lot commercially, and you deliver that and it goes well with the client. There's a lot of travelling as teams as well, so actually you get to know people very well, you work closely in a way you wouldn't ordinarily work if you were in a fixed office space. Have a look around for the best master's courses. Some master's courses combine industrial experience with theory. Some are part-time, so enabling you to work at the same time. I would hoover up any opportunities to go and see the consultancies or go and work with the big organisations, a team of occupational psychologists, just to get a feel for what's going on. But as I say, the route through masters and then immediately getting a supervisor and focusing on chartership, I think that's the most important route. And it's tough, without a doubt. It's tough. It feels sometimes like it's taking forever to become fully qualified, but it is well worth it.